This video I'm going to do a demonstration of an orthographic projection drawing. We're going to create a multi-view drawing of this part shown right here. Before I get started, I'll set up my layers. So go to layer properties. What I did was, as we did previously, for my zero line, I changed the line weight. I created a center line layer. It's blue. I loaded the center line. Don't change the line weight. I created a construction layer. I chose a light color. It should be a continuous line. Do not change the line weight. Depth points is a layer that is automatically going to show up. Don't draw on that layer. See how the printer function is turned off? That's kind of like the layer that all the garbage goes into, so don't use that layer. Create a dimension layer. It's red. It's continuous line, default line weight, and a hidden line, hidden layer, magenta, loaded the hidden lines, default line weight. Okay, we've done that before. There's a video on how to do that. And here's the object. So you want to think about the rules of the view selection. We'll start with our front view. The front view shows the most detail, fewest hidden lines, and also the longest dimension. So because of the shape of this part, you might want to think that's the front view, but it creates a very awkward drawing. So I'm going to use this biggest surface right here, which is a 7 by 4 rectangle, and I will start with that. I'm going to make sure I'm on my zero layer. Now make sure you go into line weight and make sure that box is checked, display line weight, otherwise your thicker line's not going to show up. Okay, so it's a 7 by 4. My ortho is turned on, my object snap is turned on. So that's my front view, not too exciting. Don't worry about anything else right now at this point. We just need the outline of it. Now I'm going to switch to my construction layer and just going to put some construction lines on here that extend out a reasonable amount to give me room for my other views. Okay, so right side view will go over there, top view will go over there. We need some space between the views. Let's just use 3 inches, offset 3, enter. And again, that will give me room around the views. So now if I'm drawing the 7 by 4, the depth of the part then is going to be 3 inches. That's the other dimension that I have, again, just because I've chosen this as my front view. I know it's a little confusing perhaps, but hang in there, you'll see how that works. So that means I need another offset of 3, enter. Now, it just so happens both of these are 3, but that shouldn't be a problem. Let's see what the top view looks like. I'll switch to my zero layer. Top view, of course, is just another rectangle, but whereas this one is 4 inches high, this one's 3 inches high. And then my right side view is a smaller rectangle because that's essentially it's looking at the end, right, this end right here. And let's focus on that because that's where we're going to have the more detail that shows up. So we've got this hole, it's a 2-inch diameter hole, goes all the way through the part. Now it's located centrally. I know there's some dimensions missing on there. So in order to locate that, since that's 4 inches, I could just do an offset of 2. Oops. And then that's 3 inches, so that's going to be offset of 1.5, just half of that. So I know that my hole is going to go right there. Make sure you're on center, comma, diameter, and that's 2 inches. Now, what does that do for us here? Now, it really helps us see what's happening here. So in this that I've chosen as the front view, now I know just to the naked eye you see this surface, but we want to reveal the other features that exist in that part that you can't see from that particular point of view. So that's going to be some hidden lines and center lines to show that there's a hole here. There's going to be a hidden line that's lined up with the top of that hole, goes all the way through, one that lines up with the bottom of that hole, and then of course a center line through the middle. So let's just use a construction line. It's probably the quickest way to do it. And we'll just make sure your quadrant is turned on your object snap. Right, make sure that quadrant is checked. And we'll draw a line from the top. And it go past the line. If you try to click it on that line, it's going to jump around. Just go past the line. So you don't really care. It's a construction line anyway. Switch to our hidden line layer. And I'll erase these just so I can really see what's happening. Okay, so again, that shows the top of that hole and the bottom of the hole. The fact that they go from edge to edge shows you that the hole goes all the way through. So without any writing down that that hole goes through, you can see it visually. Now, hidden lines always stop at the edge of the part. They can't go beyond. It wouldn't make any sense. This is just empty space. Why would you have lines extending out in there telling you that something is hidden? Now, a center line is a different animal. Anytime you have a round hole, you want to show a center line. Now, there's two things you're going to show. One is a center mark. So let's go up here to the Annotate tab, center mark, and just click on the circle. And that's going to put a center mark. Oops, it's on the wrong layer though. Okay. So that's easy enough to do. If you click on the center mark, just go up here to the center line layer, click on that. That'll transfer it over to the center line layer. I'm going to erase these lines for now. It's a little hard to see, but it'll be fine. When you go to your layout, the lines will show up just fine. So I want to show a center line that goes through the part. Imagine me, if I was going to drill this hole, I would want to know the path that the drill takes, and that's what the center line is going to represent there. Now, center line is kind of unique in a couple respects. One is it will extend outside the border of the part. Remember, I just said hidden lines always stop at the edge. Center lines go through on both sides. So you want to decide on some kind of reasonable amount. The way I usually do it is just do an offset. Let's do a 1-inch offset and see what that looks like. And that should work for me. Let's go to my construction line. I'll draw a line. Goes like that. Again, I want to go past everything so there's no interference. Switch to my center line layer and then draw my center line from those points right there. I'll erase that construction line. Right, so there's the front view. Hidden lines represent the edge of the hole. Center lines show you where the center of the round hole is. Now the top view. Now it's a little bit different. Let's erase these lines here just because they might cause some confusion. So essentially, what am I going to see here? So the top is kind of this. I know it's oriented vertically here, but the way I've presented it, with this being the front view, the top view would be looking directly down on it. I'm still going to see this hole right here, right? So I could remeasure all that stuff, but let's use a miter line to do that. So go to my construction lines. Miter line is going to be a line that goes from that upper right-hand corner up here at a 45-degree angle. Now, because of the way I left equal space between the views, these depths of the part are the same. That creates a 45-degree angle. Otherwise, you can just draw a line using that distance tab angle command to create that. So what I can do is take and project up. Now just go past the miter line. If you try to click on it, it's going to be jerking around. And then I can go where that intersection of the miter line and that vertical line, and I'm going to go beyond the part there. That's where my center line is going to be, right? And I can do the same thing with the edges of the circle. I can project up. So again, go past the miter line, and then where those intersections are, project over. Switch to my hidden layer. So if you find yourself remeasuring things multiple times, you're doing too much work. It's really not necessary. That's the beauty of that miter line. Now I will need a center line. I'll need to do that offset thing, but let me show you a little trick here. Let's just copy the one we have. So go to copy, click on that center line, hit enter because you've chosen the object you want to copy. And then you need a base point to start from. It can't just be a random point. It needs to be something I can reproduce and control. So if I click on that intersection right there, and then do the same up there, it'll copy that center line. Hit escape. And now I can come up here and just turn off. If you turn off that light bulb, construction lines go away. There's my orthographic projection. Front view, top view, right side view. That's how you're going to do that. Now again, we have multiple views to put our dimensions on, so that helps us because now this is a very, oops, my ortho on. Yeah, this is a very simple part. It's not like you're going to be struggling. Oops, let's switch the number of decimals here. You're not going to be struggling to find a place to put dimensions, but as the parts get more complicated, it will become an issue, and you're going to want to, oops, I'm doing that, trying to get that to switch over. There we go. So it'd be very, very handy to have multiple views to put your dimensions on. That is certainly not the problem here. And I try to use my views to spread out the dimensions some. Now, whenever you have a hole like this, you want to dimension the location of the hole in the view where you see it as a hole. And of course, we want to also call out the diameter of that. So what else do I need? I really don't need anything else. This again is a very, very simple part. Of course, I could put that dimension on here if I want to make this part feel useful. Rule of thumb is don't double dimension. There's no point of me dimensioning this twice, this twice. Just doesn't make sense. Again, that's one of the reasons we line these up. So double dimension creates more confusion. Now, sometimes if you have a really complicated part, certainly feel free to add extra dimensions to help with clarification, but don't put dimensions on it just to have something to fill up the space. This is a simple part. It'll get much harder and you'll need the space for more dimensions. And then as we've always done now, notice the color of that border. That is, what layer is that? It's one of my, oh, it's the hidden line layer. Now that could be a problem, like I don't care about the border so much, but this is a really light color. It's not going to print well. When you get to this point and you think you're going to print it out, you can come up here, oops, sorry, go to your layer control, and you can just change the color, right? Just make it something darker. And then you know it's going to print. Now, since we're doing PDFs, you kind of can sneak by with that, but be careful about that in the real world about trying to print those really, really light colors. It's one thing, they show up nicely on the black background, but they don't show up well on a white piece of paper. And usually you're not printing stuff in a color printer. Even if you're not, a pink line probably isn't what people are looking for. So there's my orthographic projection drawing of that. Now, obviously, I didn't put my name and the part name and stuff like that on there, right? But other than that, that's the process that you're going to use.